really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more fantastic music content just like this. Welcome to the Need to Know Music Show with me, Ronan McManus, here on Switchbox TV. And today I'm joined by legendary guitarist with hugely influential British band Dr Feelgood, and an extensive career of and life of highs and lows. And in recent years, he's appeared on smash hit TV series Game of Thrones, has now thrown the guitar back on with an extensive tour now planned for next year. Wilko Johnson, how are we?
Well, I'm okay, man. I've been in this room for since March, you know, because I was what they call shielding. It means I can't even step out the door, right? So you can understand it's...
Yeah, how have you been keeping yourself occupied?
Well, for some centuries, I was kind of slumped in front of YouTube watching ninja movies, you know, which I became obsessed with. And, well, I mean, my kind of intelligence is almost visibly draining away.
Due to ninjas?
I think these ninjas, man, you should watch them. They're really great. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make me laugh, so I've got to give them that, you know.
Have you been doing...
The chief ninja is called Gordon.
Well, what else would he be called?
Well, yes, you're Gordon the Ninja.
Have you been getting much music done during? Have you been able to sort of?
No, actually. I mean, well, it's the thing with me, you know. I only normally pick up my guitar when I'm about to step on stage, and that's all. I'm not one of these people that sits there. That's why I only know 3 chords, you know. After 40 years.
3 chords is more than enough. I made a clear out of that as well.
That'll do. Good enough.
So I see, yeah, you had to cancel the gigs planned for 2020.
Man,
they're all...
Yeah, it just kept. I mean, the last gig I did was January in Finland, and we had a tour sorted for February, and I'm starting to realise this ain't going to happen, right? So anyway, it shunted back into the summer, but by then I realised that wasn't going to happen, and now it's shunted to next February. But that's only 6 months away, isn't it? And they're talking about all this what's going down now, getting stronger for like 6. So I can't see that happening. So.
Yeah, it's hard to know, is it? You sort of have to make the plans, but you have to have the plans in place. But no one knows whether they're actually going to happen or not. So, yeah, it's a strange one.
I mean, we're absolutely in the dark, and we don't know. I think, well, actually, Norman, my bass player, he pointed out to me that musicians are used to kind of lounging around for 2 or 3 weeks in between tours, you know, just sitting home doing nothing. So. I mean, the other day I was looking at some news clips, and first I looked at these students that are locked in, and I thought, oh man, you know, that's I mean, what a rough year. The A levels are all mixed up, and now they've got to university, and they've gone and locked in a room, man, when you should be having freshers week and everything, and you know, I felt really sorry for them, and then. They showed this a clip of a lady, her husband is suffering from dementia, and they can't be together, right? They can look for a window, I think. And you could see how devoted this lady was. And it brought tears to my eyes. It was...
Switchbox. This show is, we mainly have... or it was designed, in fact, for up and coming musicians. So we like to sort of hear about the sort of beginning stories of the likes of yourself. What sort of age what sort of musical upbringing did you have, and what sort of age did you start getting into music?
Well, it was pretty good for me because I kind of my teens were essentially the 60s, and with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. I mean, I saw the Beatles, stuff like that.
Yeah, wow.
Couldn't hear them actually. It was all this screaming going on. You know, there's something. Everyone at school was getting an electric guitar, and I remember seeing an electric guitar at school. Somebody had got one. I didn't know anything about music, and I remember looking at this thing. I was absolutely fascinated by it. All these kind of knobs and strings, and I just really wanted one. So I decided I wanted a guitar. I didn't know anything about music, and then as I started learning to play, as I say, there was all this lot of music around me, and did what everyone does, played in local bands.
Yeah.
And then actually I stopped when I went to university, and I just left my guitar kind of under the bed. And it wasn't until 4 years later that I bumped into Lee Brillo in the street, and I think that was probably where Dr Feelgood began. But it was just like that. Actually.
Yeah.
And we, of course, we were just playing locally around here, and then we started playing in London when all this pub rock thing was going on, and music papers were paying a lot of attention to who was playing in these little venues, and we just very quickly made a name.
Yeah, so you sort of that was just sort of got onto that scene, and that scene there's a load of great bands on that scene.
It was just really good. There were a lot of venues. I mean, you go in these pubs. There was no entrance fee. You just went in there, and they'll be packed out. And a lot of good musicians, were finding audiences there, and the whole scene was set up. And by the time we started playing there, we'd already been playing sort of a couple of years locally, learning how to do it. And so, I think we made a bit of an impact.
Yeah, I think your guitar style was good. I mean, you had a lot of space in that band, didn't you? Because there was just the bass, the drums, and then Lee was just singing, and you had all that whole guitar was all on you, really. I mean, how did you find? You must have found a lot of freedom within that role.
Well, I mean, my whole guitar style was based on Mick Green, who was the guitarist from Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. And when I was learning to play, I'd heard a record, the Johnny Kidd record, and heard this guitar, and it just riveted me. And I started studying up about this guy, and I found, hey man, this guy plays in a band where there's no rhythm guitarist. It's just the bass, the guitar, and drums. And he does it with this kind of chopping style. I mean, Mick Green was really great, and so I mean, I just really tried to copy him. Playing records slow, so you could try and catch what he's doing, things like that. And yeah, so absolutely, that's where my style came from, and I've always liked that 3-piece. Band thing, drums, bass, guitar. It's just really good. It works because it's like the Who. Same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's just, so I like that. And so Dr Feelgood was like that. That's the kind of band I like.
You've kept making music consistently. Have you ever sort of found any sort of challenges with that through that sort of time? Or has it always kind of been just sort of flown out of you?
Well, I know it's like that. I mean, what I do is very simple, and it's like I say, it's kind of so I like playing live, because a lot of it is to do with kind of moving about, putting on a show, and but basically, I'm pretty good at what I do, my style of guitar now. Right, but it's pretty simple, So I don't have to sit and practice for 8 hours or even 8 minutes a day.
I wanted to sort of talk about the well documented health issues that you had, and you're now sponsored by Mercedes. Apparently, you've got a Mercedes logo.
Is that?
Your,
Oh yes,
your scar.
it's slowly vanished, but it's still there.
Yeah. So that was what year? What year was that? 2013 was it?
It's something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
so many things have happened at that time. It's something like 2012, I think.
Okay. And
Maybe
so
2013 when everyone found out about it, and no, I can't remember. Sometime back then.
yeah, how did that? I mean, how did you find that the experience of all that affected your music? Did it affect how you kind of played, or what you wanted to do? It was a farewell tour, I know.
The way it affected me was I couldn't like, normally when you stand with your guitar, right, it's kind of flat against you, right?
Yeah.
Because of this tumour, then my guitar would like point forward if I just held the guitar, because it's so big and the guitar was pointing forward. So apart from that, it didn't affect. Well, I mean, like I say, very simple what I do. But actually, that year when I was expecting to die was absolutely fantastic. It was full of stuff, you know. And sometimes like doing gigs and things, and people knew. You know, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, my record label guy had tickets for your farewell tour. So yeah, he's asking for his money back.
Yeah, I mean, I said, I mean, after then there was another kind of a whole adventure, kind of getting cured, and I'm staying, you know, it was, you know, back in the old days, it's down there, you're giving talks to people, talking to people, saying, yeah, yes, I'm going to die, you know, like all those, you know, it's pretty sort of dramatic, but coming along and saying, I'm going to live, it's just ain't as dramatic.
So what did you? I saw you did an album with Roger Daltrey around that time.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, it was amazing. What was that like working with Roger Daltrey?
Well, it was really good, and it was just under such extraordinary circumstances. I was actually due to die at that stage, and I don't know, it came together with Roger, said we should do an album together, and we had 10 days to do it. Roger, most of the songs were not known to him, but a lot of the songs were stuff we play regularly on stage. But anyway, we just had a fantastic time doing this record, and as I thought it was just going to be a kind of bash, you know, got a good time bash or something, but it started turning into a pretty tasty record because the producer Dave Ehringer, really good. And of course, I'm just having this really amazing experience because I'm in the studio. I think, I'm in the studio with Roger Daltrey, someone that was a hero to me when I was a teenager, you know. And,
yeah.
So that's weird enough, but actually, I'm going to die. That's weird as you walking. I mean, it's just. Really good. And then, of course, when they released the record, it went on. It was the second best-selling album of that year. So it's like the biggest hit. And by then, I'm still thinking, well, I made this record. This is one of the biggest-selling records. And now I'm going to die. You know. and then these people leapt in and saved my life.
But you had an operation, is that right? A procedure
Yes,
quite a risky procedure.
I mean, just the way everything happened that year was just crazy. So many things happened. One of the things that happened was we played at Cornbury Festival, and that was great because Van Morrison was topping the bill, and it was great, and I could sort of see him and say goodbye to him and everything, and. Like I say, it was in the brochure. You know, the crowd knew that I was dying, and it was it was fantastic, really. And then I remember sitting in the sun. They got a chair for me at the front. I'm sitting in the sun watching Van Morrison, and he's singing that "Precious Time Is Slipping Away," and I'm thinking, man,
God.
precious time. And this was a beautiful day, and this band singing, and I thought, yeah, but what a time, you know. I felt so good. And another thing that was happening at this festival was this fellow, this photographer, right, called Charlie Chan, right? And he's leaping about and talking. Right? Anyway, it turns out that Charlie Chan is a cancer doctor, cancer surgeon in his spare time or whatever. And anyway, so we met him. And then later that year, he turned up at my house and said to me, listen, there's something strange about this cancer you've got. I mean, pancreatic cancer is normally fatal, you know, and that's what Tom, he said, but he thought there might be something strange about mine, and he thought I got the same cancer as Steve Jobs had. And anyway, it was a very slow growing, but it was huge by then. And anyway, he said to me, I want you to go to Adam Brooks Hospital and see Mr. Emmanuel Hugo, who's the head transplant surgeon there. And because I've spoken to him about it. So I went. And then I found myself, after this kind of year, waiting to die, and this great big thing growing on me. I was sitting across at this table with this guy, and I'm thinking, is this guy telling me he could save my life? I'm thinking, yes, he is. And
wow.
I went in about 2 or 3 weeks later. It was, I think, an 11-hour operation. There had teams of transplant surgeons standing by in case they needed to transplant a vein because they couldn't see underneath this tumour. Anyway, like I say, 11 hours, and they took out this tumour. It was the size of a melon, and it weighed 3 kilos.
Wow.
And I remember a few days later, Mr. Hugo, the surgeon, I'm lying in my room. I think my brother was there, 2 or 3 people. Mr. Hugo, he's a great guy. Anyway, he comes in, he's a serious guy. He's going, I've got the reports from the lab, and he reads out the reports, and he's saying that, you know, they've done all the tests, and what he was saying was that they've got it all. They killed me. And we was
what was that? So what was that feeling like?
Raving, you know, God, Mr. Hugo is kind of nodding, you know. Yeah, they killed that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then did you start then immediately making plans?
No.
Were you just still taking it in? I mean, how did it?
Yeah, then followed weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of lying in bed, full of morphine, and yes, pretty catatonic, really, just full of tubes. You know, there were tubes coming out of me, draining me. I mean, they had to cut out loads of my gut and stomach, and that wasn't healed, right? And so you're eating food, it's got nowhere to go. So, right, but you got to eat, you're trying to eat some food. So what they do, they shove this tube up your nose, right, and down your throat and into your stomach, right? And every now and then the nurse comes with a great big huge syringe and puts it on the end of this tube and sucks your dinner out of your stomach and out of your nose and into your stomach. You know, so I mean, I spent weeks and weeks and weeks like that.
Wow.
And no, I don't think I thought much about music. I don't know what.
No. I'm going to say, at what point did you start to think, oh yeah, I'm not going to die now, I can actually start doing some stuff with life?
immediately. The great thing was about this, what Charlie Chan had sorted out for me was, I could go and have this operation, and I thought, well, that's great, because the only when I was dying, I didn't mind dying. We've all got to die, I didn't mind dying. What I was scared of was suffering, and when the cancer's going to hit me, I've got to go for. I didn't want to go through that. But then this thing comes along, and I'm thinking, right, let them operate on me, and either I go into the operating theatre and never wake up, and I'll escape the suffering that way, or they will cure me and I'll escape the suffering. So
it was a win-win in some ways.
Absolutely.
Switchbox.
You appeared in Game of Thrones. I mean, that's a huge series. TV smash hit.
That was another crazy thing. I don't know. I got this asked to go to audition, and they told me it's for an American TV series. Now, I've never done any acting, never, and they send me. Of course, the character I played doesn't actually speak. He's had his tongue cut out, you see, so I didn't have to learn any lines. But anyway, I went to London to this audition place, and I step into a room, and there's just one guy standing there with a video camera, and he says to me, "Look into the camera." He gave me a rough outline of this. This guy's a bit of an arsehole you're playing, all right. So he says, "Look into the camera." I look into the camera. Then he says, "Walk over there and then turn around and look at me." So I do that. Then he goes, "Look, I'm gonna read you a bit of script now," and he reads me a bit of script where there's a character who's having a go at me. He says, "I just want you to react to this thing." So I'm looking at the thing and I'm thinking it's like if you're standing when a fight's going to start, looking at someone and you think, I was really tempting to have a go, and he went, "Great, you got a job."
Brilliant.
And, when I went for the first filming, which was over in Ireland, then I suddenly realised this is something big. I mean, I thought it was going to be Xena the Warrior Princess or something, but. I went into the production place and I see all these suits of armour and all this stuff, and you think, what? And then get down to the set and it's huge. I mean, it's a car park full of cars, and there's cameras on cranes and I'll tell you, it was so much fun. It was so much.
It was series one. Was it the first? Was series one, wasn't it? So we didn't know it was. It wasn't a huge hit by that point. Before you.
No. I mean, I realised it was a big thing, but I never realised that. I remember I don't know. I've been on tour or something. Coming back into Heathrow, and we were driving out of Heathrow, and there's these great big hoardings advertising the new HBO series. And then one of them is Game of Thrones, and it's a big picture of Sean Bean, and just over his shoulder, it's me.
Movie star.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I get for a long one. People go. They either I know both, but they're sort of. Are you Wilko? Are you still in pain?
So you'd done that, but you'd recorded you released the album "Blow Your Mind" the previous year, had you? Before that, so you kind of released your first sort of new music in such a long time. Did you? You obviously toured that album a bit, and then suddenly this acting thing came along, and then did your head get turned away from music at all?
Everything's been a mess, I don't know what went wrong. I mean, as I say, the Roger Daltrey album was a huge success. It moved us up quite a step. And I mean, we played that Albert Hall for my 70th birthday. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what was happening. Again, we wanted to do Blow Your Mind. We wanted to have the same circumstances as we did with the album with Roger, Going Back Home. And we did it at Rockfield Studios. And I think, again, we had 13, 14 days to do it. And so working all the time. And I'm writing songs all the time. In there, on the way there, I'm freaking because it's the first time I've been on a bigger production album. We are talking in a lot of money, you know, to do such an album for many years, right? I think, oh, you know, but we just worked fast and furious, and I think it came out very well, and I think it's the best album I ever made.
How did you work? Like, do you have all the songs sorted in that sort of situation? Did you have everything sorted before? Did you know kind of what it was going to sound like? Or did you just go in and just work it all up in the studio?
For the sound, I just absolutely trusted Dave Erringer. He's a great producer. I like to work in the studio. I like to record in one take. I don't like any overdubbing bollocks. You know, just play it, get a good take, right? And so we're working, and we all work very well like that, including Mick Talbot, who was on the keyboards, and Wes Weston on the harmonica. Everyone was good at working in the studio, and we were working really hard. Now, I think there were some songs that I had written, I don't know, in the past, you know, that I got that had never been recorded, and there were several songs that were like that had arisen from jamming with the guys, with Dylan and Norman, had these shapes, and that was a lot of the main difficult for me when at the studio I was having to write the lyrics, and we, you know, and I was
on the spot.
I was always just a little bit in front, and they would go, right, we've got a good backing track here, right? So do the vocal, and I'm going. No, we'll do that tomorrow, because tonight I'm going to write the lyric, you know. Yeah. And at one point I can remember cowering. They're all. I've got this memory of them all kind of looming above me, and I'm cowering on this bench. But I mean, generally, it was very enjoyable. Another freaky thing was that, as I said, it was at Rockfield Studios, which was where Dr. Feelgood broke up 40 years ago, right?
Wow.
Or, I don't know, 1977.
There's still some ghosts of that vibe.
Rockfield Studios is built on a farm, like a stable yard. Right, and one side of the stable yard is the studio, and the other bit, and there's accommodation there, and so you go there and you stay for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Great, it's a great place. Anyway, so we go there, and I have not been into that place for 40 years. Right? Wow, it hasn't changed. I walk in, it's the. Wow, man! It's the same place, you know. Like it's like I'm a different person. I remember that idiot that I was. But anyway, I used to get some real kicks. Like, you're working in the night time, doing whatever you're doing, and I would stroll out into that courtyard and stand looking at the doorway of what was my room back then. And of course, I chose the same room this time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this doorway. I'm standing outside, looking at this doorway, and thinking, I tell you what, I felt like a ghost haunting the scene of some tragedy. You know, and I'm standing. I can almost hear the voices echoing. You know, you would if it was a crappy movie.
Yeah.
But that was a great kick.
Because so was it kind of cathartic to be? It's almost that coming because you come sort of almost full circle back to that place. Something poetic about it.
Well, in a way, yes, of course. It's hard to look back on times like that and remember what an idiot I was. But I wasn't doing that. As I say, I was just. It was just the feeling was very weird. It was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
Maybe harness some of that feeling into the music, into the recording.
It may be. You know,
maybe some of the energy made it onto the record.
There's a friend of mine, you know. I'm still standing. You know,
yeah.
I'm still in this place making music, and none of them can say that.
Switchbox.
Did you still get the same sort of kick out of playing live as you always did? How does it feel?
I absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't do this if I didn't like that. You know, in fact, you know, until this disruption and everything, the way I used to look at things, I'm a fairly miserable so-and-so, and yeah, I am. But when I'm on stage, I just love it because on stage you are reduced to this one thing, which is like the rhythm and this guitar. That's all you are. You know, all of your other concerns and philosophies and worries and whatever, they're not there. You're human. You're just this kind of, and I love that. I just love that because you're not a human.
You just sort of get into this sort of trance-like state on the stage, isn't it? Like
it is in a way, and you're just, I don't know, just looking out over the people and I'm lost in things. I never look in people's eyes. People think I do, but I don't. It's something I learned as a school teacher, where you can range your eyes in the sort of middle distance, back and forth, right? And you're not looking at any of them, but they all think you're looking at them. So I use. Anyway, I just love it. It's not real. It's not real. I love it. I love it. And walk off stage back to the old misery.
If you had to pick out a career highlight, I know it's hard. You've done so many things over the years. Would there be something you pick out as something that really proud of, the moment you're really proud of, or something that really sticks out to you?
I mean, there are a lot of moments, and that's what they are, moments. And when you look back on gigs, and you will remember playing one song or even half of, you know, that's all you remember of that gig. But you know, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty good in the early days, you know, because suddenly people are cheering, they're going mad, you know. You know, and you're going along, you think it's only me. But then after a bit, you begin to believe it, you know, and sometimes then, you're standing on stage, I mean, you're going, God, I mean, it does feel good.
I think you should. I mean, you should give yourself that. I think don't be afraid to enjoy your time. I think on the stage, enjoy your success. You know, I think it's something to be proud of. You certainly brought a lot of influenced a lot of musicians and brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. So I think that's something that we're all thankful of. So Well, I wanted to ask you quickly about, we always do a recommendation part of the show. Is there, do you have a recommendation for an artist maybe people should check out, or something you've been listening to recently, or something you've discovered, or something that maybe influenced you a lot?
I am no different from most people, old people, and my musical tastes froze around about 1972. And I mean, I am absolutely ignorant about what's going on, or who's who. I mean, I'm sure there are some great people out there, but I'm an old geezer, you know. I'm out of that thing. But I could tell people that they should check out Neil Young's "Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere" album if they want a good time.
Excellent. Well, if your music taste frozen 1972, it's certainly working for you. So don't change it now. Listen, Wilko, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure and a real honour to chat to you. And I wish you continued health and happiness and misery, and getting back on the stage as soon as possible.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Thanks, man.